Hello, everyone. Welcome to our presentation about our configure once and deploy everywhere solution for Lucidworks Fusion. I am John Wooden, along with my coworkers Kapil and Ferosh. We have Fusion deployed to 6 environments. Engineers work in our dev environment with very limited access to the higher environments. And we want to promote changes to dev up through each environment in succession to allow other teams who consume our services to validate their services against what we've changed. However, Fusion doesn't have built-in functionality for syncing configurations between separate installations. Imagine a product owner asking for a new facet to be added to a query pipeline. Without automation, an engineer would have to make that exact same change 6 times by hand and somehow manage not to mess it up. So here we have 2 problems to solve. How can we copy changes from one Fusion installation to another? And how do we define the path of promotion so that it follows our SDLC workflow? But wait, there's a third problem. Imagine a simple website data source with a sitemap that we want to index. Given that this website also exists in multiple environments as we do, the URLs and credentials and et cetera, of each environment are going to vary. Now we need to map our Fusion clusters to the corresponding URLs and their credentials. And these are going to vary, as you can see through the chart below. The dev environments may have some things in common, but they'll have almost nothing in common with the production environments. So we may have scenarios where things have to be a certain way in the lower environments and a certain way in the higher environments. So the problem is, how can we selectively move changes from lower environments to higher environments such that the incoming changes are implemented properly so as not to cause issues with other services that we consume and provide? The solution to the first problem is no secret, as it's open source. Andrew Shumway of Lucidworks made this very helpful get put script, which can import and export configurations from Lucidworks Fusion. This leaves us to solve the second and third problems of achieving our SDLC workflow. And you can find his get put script on GitHub as shown on screen. And to discuss the architecture of this solution, I'll turn it over to Kapil.
Hey, thank you, John, and welcome everyone. So basically, to achieve the second and third problem, so what we did, right? So we want to make sure like our source environment from where we are going to promote changes to the higher environment, that source environment looks good, right? So to achieve that, what we did, right, we added some BDD test cases. So before even running those promotions, right, what we do, right, we run some BDD test cases so that we know like the environment from where we are going to promote changes looks good, right? And we don't have any failed test cases, and we don't promote any bad changes to that from the source environment to the target environment. So what we do, this is the high level design, right? So we run some automated test cases on source environment. We get the configurations from the source environment. And then what we do, right, we overwrite those configurations for the target environment, because each environment is different. And we want to make sure the configurations which we are promoting the target environments are in line to the target environment. So let's say if we are promoting to production, so we will replace the production URLs for the data sources and stuff like that. And then what we do, right, we store this configuration into source control so that we know like what changes we are promoting, and we have a track of changes which we are promoting to the target environment. John, next slide, please. And there are a lot of processes involved behind the scene to achieve this high level architecture. So we are using CI/CD pipelines, we are running BDD test cases, and we are using source control. So these are some common tools, right? And definitely we are using the get put app from Andrew, which is the key source, to extract all the configuration files from one Fusion environment, and then we download those configurations, we store them in a source control, and then we update those configurations which are needed based on the target environment, right? Next slide, John. So like John said, right, we select modules, right? So we don't promote all the changes from one environment to another environment, right? To achieve that, what we have done is, right, we have broken down these modules into like feature sets. So like, let's say one pipeline has one type of feature, the second pipeline has different indexing feature. So what we did, right, we broken down these like a feature sets. And when you export the fusion changes, right, configurations files, they are extracted like multiple files, right? Like some file are data source files, some are IPL file, one a QPL file, right? So to broken down those things, right, we have created feature sets, and based on the feature sets, we allow users to select, okay, which features they want to promote. It's not like everything will have to be promoted, right? So the users will select, okay, which feature you want to promote. And that's how we have divided these feature sets. Next slide, John. So like we said, right, not all environments are same. Like some environments have different sitemap. Some environment have different schedules, right? So let's say I want to index very frequently on production, but on a lower dev environment, I don't need to schedule every day or every hour, right? So based on that, we have stored these configuration per environment into source control, and based on that, we override during the promotion process. And that's how we achieve overrides per environment, and we define these configuration into JSON files, and the scripts during the promotion process replaces those variables, uh, and promotes those changes to the higher environment. So this is a very high level overview, but we are using a lot of good stuff behind the scene to achieve these problems and solve these problems, like second and third, like John said, right? So yeah, John, over to you.
Thanks, Kapil. All right. Going to go over quick as to the experience from an engineer attempting to deploy. The engineer will go into the tool and select the environment that they wish to deploy configurations from. And upon selecting an environment, a form will appear asking for the ticket number related to the change being deployed, as well as the module that they're working on and the target environment as the destination. This form allows us to track who deployed what and why. As mentioned before, modules allow us to promote only the configurations related to a specific feature. The target selection also limits the engineer to approve targets from the source environment. So this allows us to enforce the SDLC process. And now to talk about some future features we intend to work on, I'm going to turn it over to Ferosh.
Thank you, John. So, I just want to add one more thing to what just John said. When we are promoting the change from a lower environment to a broad environment, we will also take CRQ. And, we can have all kind of validations if the CRQ is ready, or it's some time for CRQ before even promoting the change. But let's review what all things that we did till now. So in the beginning, we had Fusion like 6 environments, and they didn't know how to interact with each other. But with this tool, we are basically telling, we defined a flow that changes has to go in one particular direction, in one particular fashion. And also, before we promote a change, we have some sort of review mechanism to see what changes are going, or what module are deploying to the next environment. That gives some visibility. But are we happy there? We are not. We want to go to the next level where we can actually see, like in a code base, in a source repository, hey, what are the exact lines that has changed, so that somebody can merge, review the merge request and promote some part of it and some part not. Once the merge request is complete, reviewed, approved, the deployment will automatically happen. That is where we want to go. And then another key functionality that we really want to implement is a rollback. What it means is sometimes we do all kind of testing, we do everything we can before we deploy the change. But things can happen, things go wrong. Like there's a chance that, integration can only happen in the prod environment. It can happen. Once we see the integration, things does not work out the way we want it. And we have to pull it back, we have to roll it back. So that functionality right now still is doing at some level manual, even though we can see from our source repository what are the changes, but that's changes, applying the changes manually is still need to be done manually. So we want to automate that. And the final stage is the seamless integration with the development. At the end of the day, technically, people or the engineers will only work on the development environment. And mind them, they are all working on different things, different features. And one of the features is ready to go. They can actually selectively promote that change to the higher environments and they keep going. But however, we still have a process where people, there's a promotion process where we sit down and we promote those changes. Do we really need that? If we think that we have proper testing and integration and everything is available, maybe we have so much more confidence that we don't need a trigger to move the changes from a lower to higher environment. That is where we want to reach. At that point, changes are, they are themselves deciding based on the validation that we put, what state or what environment they should go. And we believe we have tools for that, and we are working, and at some point we will be achieving that. So as a high level, what happened, in the beginning, we had a fusion that is capable of talking to multiple environments, just so many different configurations, and they are all different. But with the small changes and with this infrastructure, we're able to connect all these 5 or 6 fusion installations into one single fusion, which is intelligent enough to promote changes from the engineer's point to a very stable, consistent, and trackable, like every change that are going, we know, as John said, what, who, and why. We track that to the final destination. So we know what was involved in these changes, who all worked in these changes, and what was the backup. All those things are done, and we have a complete accountability, and the change is deployed into both prod and DR. So that's where we are right now. Thank you, John. That's all we have.
Thanks, Ferosh. All right. Feel free to ask us questions by using the text feature on your screen, and we can answer by text. Thank you so much for attending our presentation, and enjoy the rest of Activate.